Hi, my name is Jeremy, and this is my channel, Red Dragon Comics and Gaming, where I will be discussing all manner of topics, ranging from How to Train Your Dragon, to Marvel, to Avatar The Last Airbender. Anything and everything that I am interested in, I might make a video about, and I'll post it on here. Anyway, today's theory is one based on How to Train Your Dragon. That's one of my favorite movie franchises of all time. I've loved it since I was a child. It's a beautifully animated movie with an amazing story. I've had this theory for a while now. I actually posted it on the How to Train Your Dragon subreddit a few years ago. But now I figured I would post it to YouTube and try to gather some more evidence as well as just try to reach a wider audience. Anyways, let's get into the theory. For those of you who don't know, Gothi is the elder and healer of Berk. I'll put a picture of her up on the screen. She isn't shown much in the movies, but she is shown a lot in the TV shows of How to Train Your Dragon. These shows are actually where most of the character development for all of the characters is done, in my opinion. I think that the movies, no one other than really Hiccup, Astrid, and Stoic have much character depth to them, and everybody else just seems to be much comedic relief. But in the shows, Riders of Berk, Defenders of Berk, and Race to the Edge, we see a lot of development for all of these characters. Snotlout, for example, goes from just being a jock who bullies Hiccup to a deeply emotional character who is shown to put on an act of being tough so his father will approve of him and so that he can gain approval of everybody else around him. Fishlegs is developed beyond just being a nerd to being somebody who is a deep passion for dragons in every way possible, and possibly being the only person to rival Hiccup's love of dragons. However, the most important character for this discussion is Gothi. She appears in all three films, but most notably in the first. Her role in the second and third movies are relatively brief. In the second, she's the one who anoints Hiccup as the chief of Berk after Stoic dies, and in the third, she's the officiator of Hiccup and Astrid's wedding. In the first movie, though, we see her as she is the one to make the critical decision of which child will kill the monstrous nightmare, later to become Hookfang, at the climax of their training in dragon killing school. And these scenes with the dragon training school is where my theory begins. While watching the first movie one time, I realized that she looks at Hiccup differently than all the other students. While Hiccup is using the methods to tame the dragons in the arena that he learned with Toothless, most of the spectators are cheering and amazed. They think that he has found a way of conquering the beasts somehow. But Gothi has a very different look on her face every time we see her. Almost like she knows something more is going on. Like she realizes that Hiccup isn't just hurting the dragons like everybody else does, but that he is taming them or controlling them in a deeper way. Her face seems to be filled with an inquisitive look, like she is analyzing Hiccup for something more than just killing the dragons. I think that she picked Hiccup as the one to fight Hookfang, because she knew that he could do it and survive without hurting the dragon. I think that Gothi recognized the techniques that Hiccup was using because I think that she was aware of other cultures that had positive relationships with dragons. Why do I think this? Well, in Race to the Edge, we are shown in the first few episodes that in her youth, Gothi traveled to other islands in an effort to grow her skills as a healer. Specifically, we are shown her journey to Glacier Island to find glacial water, which was known for its healing properties. Here she encountered a snow wraith and managed to barely get back to Berk alive. Why is that important? It shows that she hasn't stayed on Berk her whole life. She has traveled around and she has gone to far off places. I think it's possible that during her voyages, she may have come across other tribes, like the Defenders of the Wing or the Wing Maidens, both of whom have closer relationships with dragons, not entirely dissimilar to what the way of the Dragon Riders became. Now, in saying this, I don't mean that those tribes were exactly like how the Dragon Riders treated their dragons. The Defenders of the Wing had a somewhat of a symbiotic relationship with an Eruptodon named the Great Protector. It would eat the lava that flowed from the volcano their village was built upon, and they would keep it safe from other threats, such as hunters or bigger dragons when they could. The Wing Maidens believed that they were given a mission from the gods to protect the Razor Whip species and bring it back from the brink of extinction. They were possibly the closest we see to the Dragon Riders, forming close relations with a dragon that they would use to fly around and to fight with. However, once it was of age, the Razor Whip would leave them. This is where they vary from Hiccup's riders in the fact that they had more than one dragon over a lifetime that they didn't become as close to. However, despite any differences that the groups may have, I still believe that they would have learned similar tactics to what Hiccup used in the arena. Things such as Dragon Nip, a fear of eels, using shiny objects, and especially pressure points, which, side note, even some of the antagonists discovered as a non-lethal means of controlling dragons. We see Krogan use this against a Singetail in Race to the Edge, and he even tries to use it against Toothless at one point. Adding on to all this, they had their own ways of taming their dragons. The Defenders of the Wing notably used Sage Fruit, and I'm pretty sure that they used it on a pack of Speed Stingers to keep them docile enough for capture and relocation. Now, one of the biggest counter-arguments to this could be the fact that in the opening episodes of Race to the Edge, Hiccup and the other writers expressed the fact that nobody had ever left the barbaric archipelago, which Berk lies within, and which the other two tribes that I have noted lived outside of. However, we see throughout the series that this is just straight up not true. As soon as episode 7 of season 1 of Race to the Edge, we are shown explicitly that even Toughnut and Roughnut's ancestors had been to the very island on which Dragon's Edge lies and had put a claimstone there. Other examples would include the fact that Dagger and Heather's father, Oswald the Agreeable, had left Berserker Island long before the series started and eventually ended up on Vanaheim Island, the final resting place of all dragons. And the fact that we are shown in one episode that Fishlegs' family, the Ingermans, were well-known dragon hunters outside of the archipelago for bringing the Dramillion dragon species to its knees and the brink of extinction. So now that I've disproven the fact that they hadn't left the archipelago, meaning that Gothi could have been to any place outside of the archipelago, I have some more evidence. One of the recurring locations in the later seasons of Race to the Edge is the northern markets. Now, I'm not sure if it's ever explicitly stated whether or not the northern markets are within the archipelago or outside of it. However, the fact remains that we see people from both sides of the spectrum there. The character model for the Berserker Armada member is used there, and we see that Mala, the queen of the Defender of the Wing Island, also shops there for weapons. It may be possible that Gothi had been there before, So this means that even if she didn't meet, let's say, the defenders of the wing on their own island, maybe she encountered one of their members there and interacted with them, learned about their culture, and got some of their information on how to deal with dragons. Now, this last bit of evidence that I have is nowhere near as concrete as the rest of it. I guess you could call it headcanon, but I still think that it adds to the theory. So maybe Gothi was open to allowing Hiccup to peacefully control the dragons because she was close to Hiccup's mom at some point. As the village elder and healer, Gothi would have most likely been close to the chief and his family, doubly so when they had a child on the way and Volka would need constant medical attention. In the second movie, Volka talks a lot about how when she was on Berk, she was pushing for the fighting to stop. She longed for peace with the dragons, and maybe at some point she told Gothi about these aspirations and her hopes for the future in detail during her time before being snatched up by Cloudjumper and taken off of Berk. Gothi, in turn, would watch Hiccup closer while he was in the dragon-killing arena, and might notice his non-violent tactics, then choosing him, believing that he could bring about the change that Volka wanted so long ago. But anyways, that's the theory. Tell me what you think in the comments, and make sure to check out mine and my friend's shared channel, The Nerd Shack. Bye.